Hi, and welcome to Crafting Quality Play When School's Out. I'm Deanna, and my guest is going to be Brooke from Enchanted Treehouse. I'm going to bring her on right now about me and my business. I created the Go Deck, which is 52 cards telling people about outdoor places where they can visit and get outdoors, go on new adventures, break out of routine ruts, create connections with each other and nature, and just make memories to last a lifetime. And I'm joined by Brooke. Brooke, I was just giving folks a quick intro to me and my small business, and we're going to talk about Enchanted Treehouse a lot today. So I was curious if you could just, in your intro to our listeners, tell people how you got to this point. What's your background? Tell us more about you.
Yeah, so I'm a pediatric speech therapist. I do speech and feeding therapy, and I've been doing that for a little over 20 years. And I'm here in Solana Beach. And when I opened a new place for my practice, I wanted to have an inclusive play center, a place where all kids love to come. And my clients also have a place to, invite play dates and carry over skills. And what I found with the speech therapy that I do, which is play-based and child-led, is that their siblings and when I go to preschools, their classmates, they all want to join in. They see how much fun we're having and they want to join in. And so I just feel there's a real need for that, to bring imaginative play out more for kids to
Yeah.
experience. We have so many cool, like, I feel like we are so lucky as families in San Diego. We have so many great places and new ones opening, every day
Yeah.
almost. And I just wanted to add to the variety of options for families, something that's cozy, sensory friendly. It's quiet, but it's not boring. Like, the kids are having fun, and so the noises you hear are, squeals of delights and excitement with the play, but it's not an overwhelming noise level.
Yeah.
And we set families up for the connection, to have the connected play experience here. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, cool. So, I know San Diego Unified is on spring break this week. My daughter will be on spring break in 2 weeks, and then summer's coming. And until recently, I worked full time. So I was always I just book a spring break camp, or I would have a grandparent fly out to watch her.
Yeah.
And it's funny because one of my, it's a not a great memory now, but I remember coming home after work all day, and my mom had been watching my daughter, and she had my daughter watching a tablet. And I said, "Oh my gosh, screen time is terrible." My mom said, "Well, I'm exhausted. We've been doing, quality play all day. I need a break."
Yeah.
And now the tables have turned, and I'm watching my daughter more
Yeah.
now that I'm not working full time. And it is, exhausting. So before we dive into talking about quality and play and stuff, I wanted to recognize that engaging with our children, although we love them so much, it can be really tiring for the caregiver. And taking care of us and recognizing when our cup has been emptied and how can we fill it. I think that's maybe something we can start with. And I love that you offer opportunities at the Enchanted Playhouse for caregivers to still have that quality play with a PayPal, and then the caregiver can go and restore themselves and say, okay, I'm ready to get back at it. Can you just tell me more about the PlayPal experience
Yeah.
and walk me through that?
Well, and I want to address what you said as a parent. It's striking that balance, because there are some really great learning apps on a tablet, right? And there are some quality shows that can, and then, I think it's giving kids that balance of outdoor time and in time. And you keep using the word quality, which, thank you,
Yeah.
because quality over quantity. Like, we can't beat ourselves up as parents, and especially working parents, that we have to be down on the floor with kids all the time. But when you make it a quality interaction, that makes all the difference. And by quality, it's like showing your enthusiasm and your enjoyment of what your kids are playing, adding your own ideas to them. One of the biggest tips we always give is, instead of quizzing the kids, get involved. How whatever excites you, like show that and bring that
Yeah.
to the play, and then that's going to light them up. And so maybe that's only 5 minutes of your time,
Mhm.
but that's better than just sitting there, and quizzing them. But so one of the experiences that we provide for parents is a catered family experience. And you mentioned grandparents, like we'll
Yes.
have grandparents and they don't have all the toys maybe, or, if they have their grandchildren visiting, and they like it here because it's very sensory friendly. It's very calming in the forest here. And so for the young ones, they usually tell us what they've found their younger ones enjoy. And then for the kids that like to make their own choices, we have a play menu. And
Mhm.
so the kids choose from the play menu. I want pirates, or I want an ocean adventure. And we call it catered play because we set up the forest for the family to have that connected time together. And we might position things on tables so there's more, eye contact and interaction. We might give aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents, little tips, like I said, like instead of quizzing them about what color it is or what sound it makes, add some fun sounds to it,
Mhm.
or, give them just little tips of how to make it more exciting and enjoyable. So that's the family
Uh-huh.
session. Um, and then caregivers need a break. So we also have play pal sessions where I've trained play pals. Like I have a student who's mentoring under me to become a speech therapist. I have tutors that have, education degrees, and they get down with the kids on their level. And again, give them the choice of choose your own adventure. What kind of, adventure do we want to have today? Then we bring the toys out, and we share that experience with the kids as the play pal supervising the play, so that the caregiver can take a break, get a cup of coffee, use Wi-Fi, go next door. There's an amazing Thai restaurant next door to us. So yeah, those are the two play experience, and then we
Yeah.
have a toy and bookstore here as well.
Yeah. And about how long is a play pal
Um,
experience?
an hour or an hour and a half.
Oh no.
The real little kids, an hour is kind of a good time frame
Yeah.
for them. But if you want to get a massage or a spa service that we have here in the complex, sometimes you need that hour and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so, yeah, because I just as you mentioned, I'm getting better, but I have so much guilt and shame about the tablet time I give my kids. So I just feel like this is such a wonderful option for parents who, yeah, want to see their child interacting with someone, but maybe the babysitter says, I can't come unless you give me at least 3 hours of time.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to restore the caregiver and take care of yourself. You mentioned play menu, and it's interesting when I was doing the prototyping and focus groups for the Go Deck, and I'll bring one out just so people who haven't seen the Go Deck can understand what I'm talking about. So in my City Deck series, one side is a full-size color photo, and the other has all the information that I share with people about the location. And when I was talking to one focus group that was predominantly parents or moms, it was all women, they said, I love the idea of being able to hand the cards over to the child and letting them choose. And their initial thoughts were that it helps them in terms of like decision fatigue. They're always making decisions like, what am I cooking for dinner? What do we got to do here? And so I thought, well, I'm going to try this out with my daughter.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because then instead of thinking about it from the parent perspective of decision fatigue, I handed it over to my daughter and I said, you're going to choose where we go today. And initially she was like, what? I choose? And I said, yes, whichever card you pick, we're going to go there. And it was really interesting to see her reaction of like, she was in the driver's
Yes.
seat. And so when you mention and that's just really intrigued me ever since. And when you mention the play menu, it reminds me of that, where we're putting the child in the driver's seat. And can you, as a play specialist, tell me more? And we've got some folks joined, so hi to those who've joined us.
Right.
Tell us more about when we're thinking about crafting quality play for children. How can we put them in the driver's seat? What's some of the tips and tricks, and what's the thought process, or what's the best practices behind that? Like, how does that?
Yeah, so I remember I was lucky enough to meet you right when I was opening the store, and we clicked right away, and I loved your concept. First of all, they're high quality cards and they appeal to both kids and adults, which is it's harder than it looks to create
Yeah.
something that is both for adults and kids. And you can use those cards in a variety of ways too. I use them actually with kids. We play a little mail game.
Mhm.
And so I use a toy mailbox and we deliver them. And, you stamp the card, you talk about it, and then you deliver it to someone and they get to use it like a postcard. And so we're having a lot of fun with the Go Deck. But like you said, kids like to make choices. But if it's just verbally asked to them, it is the same as the stress of like, what should we have for dinner tonight? If they have to think out of thin air, that's tricky for them. And so the cards give them that visual and turns it into, a game, which is what I love. And so we're kind of doing the same thing with the play
Yeah.
menu. So for choose your own adventure, they get to decide, well, like, who do you want to play with today? Do you want it to be, the Peppa Pig family or firefighters or pirates? And then where do you want them to go? Do you want them to go to a pizza shop or on a camping adventure to the ocean? How should they get there? And when you're doing the who, what, where, first of all, it sets kids up for conversation. That's what we talk about all day
Yeah.
long, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And second of all, when they go to English class down the road and they're asked to create a story,
Uh,
again, the pressure. I had one mom who her son was really dealing with that, and really it was upsetting him to just feel all that anxiety around the teacher saying, "Just create a story out of thin air," right? How do I
yeah.
do that? Um, but when they're used to playing with this style of it, where it's fun, oh, anybody, any character you want, who do you want in the story? Where do you want them to go and what do you want to have happen? That kind of sets them up for success down the road in school as well. And the kids just really light up over this. And the other thing is, kids love playing with their friends and having alone time, but they also really like adults validating their ideas. So that's why I say to make play quality interaction, to really like bring your own ideas and show enthusiasm around what your kids are enjoying has such an impact, even if it's only for, a short amount of time. Um, that's where the spark and the connection is.
Yeah, I do notice that now that I'm providing more care for my daughter during the day, where normally she would have been in after school or at a
Yeah.
camp, she does feed off my energy. When I'm excited,
Yeah.
I could see she's excited. When I'm tired, I can see her energy levels kind of drop a little bit too.
Yeah.
um, Talking about that, I want to talk, go back a little bit before I started the Go Deck. I don't. I think part of my challenge was that I had my daughter a little later in life. I didn't have any friends who had kids, so I hadn't been around kids for many years.
Mhm.
And I had my daughter, and as she got older to the more where we could do indoor play with dolls or different
Yeah.
things, I really struggled to do the imaginative play.
Mhm.
I mean, fortunately, then I, started going outdoors with her more, and that was just more natural to me because I love the outdoors, obviously, with
Yeah.
the outdoor card deck. And I felt that I was really doing better with fueling curiosity, just because the outdoors gives me that curiosity myself. um, but in terms of, I still struggle today. She says, "Mom, come play with me,"
Mhm.
with her dolls and stuffies. And I have such a hard time doing indoor play. So can you talk a little bit more about the facilitated play that you offer, and some of the ways that if it's a grandparent who hasn't played with children in a while, or a parent like myself who's like, "Well, this is hard. I'm not around kids. Like, my day job is not with children at all." Uh, what are ways that you can help parents get into that? Yeah, instead of quizzing, like
Yeah.
you said, that might be our natural predisposition. Tell
Right.
me more about helping parents do that play with children.
With the imaginative play, kids love to act out different themes from their lives. So, playing hide and seek, role playing holidays or birthday parties or different adventures like that. And the way you can not feel pressured by it is to bring yourself. So if you like outdoor play or what you're, if there's some level of your job that you could role play in the characters, that's bringing you to the mix. I work with a family, and the one parent loves the pretend play and does all these different voices, and then the other parent's like, I can't do all those voices. And I said, well, what, lights you up with your child? Like, what do you feel relaxed and really have a good time with? And she said art. And so
Mm,
that's okay. Like, choose what you enjoy with your child and make the most of that. But when they are really wanting you to play with the dolls, play with the stuffies, um, think about how to bring humor to it,
mhm.
and what makes your child laugh. Is it the peekaboo surprises? Um, is it role playing school and letting them be the teacher?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Notice, my daughter's 8 and she still enjoys the play of like she owns a shop and I'm coming in to order, some matcha from her.
right.
Or I sometimes hear when she's with the children that come down the hallway and play with us, she loves being the teacher,
Yeah.
and things like that. That's really, yeah, I hadn't thought about that in terms of, encouraging her, like, asking those questions. You know, what's the situation? Are we in a shop, a school, a hospital? Who are you? Who am I?
Yeah.
What's happening, or where are we going? Things like
And then
that. Yeah.
kids that aren't at that verbal conversational level,
Yeah.
just kind of joining them, and sometimes in the very beginning, we're kind of mirroring what they're doing and showing
Mhm.
enthusiasm around it and joining them on their level of play. I've had little boys, that have these monster trucks, and they're smashing and crashing,
Yeah.
and I'll say, oh, look at him. Now, is he doing that for fun, or is he feeling really angry today and
Yeah.
really just wants to smash something? And it's amazing how from monster trucks and Hot Wheels, a little guy can get out some of the frustrations
Yeah.
that over something that might have happened at preschool. And then he comes in, to play with me, and we can bridge it from there. So there's just so many directions that play can take things. And it really is the best way for, I mean, there's research that shows that the kids make more connections in the brain when it's meaningful and
Yeah.
fun. And that's why we use play for speech therapy. But just for connection and communication, I mean, that's their world. So joining them, and then, but then not just copying what they're doing, or, bringing yourself to the play, I think
Yeah.
is what they really
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's you talk about the brain and stuff. I was reading about, when we go out and when we have novel experiences, new experiences,
Yeah.
it does do something, something with the neuroplasticity. And also someone was saying that when they do something new, it really creates more of a memory in their brain instead of going through these
Yeah.
routines of daily
Yes.
life of just like, okay, I know I'm going to go here, and it's routine. And there's even been times when I'm driving on the interstate and I think, I don't even remember passing that last exit. I'm like, was I even paying attention? It's really crazy. So I love this idea of doing new things or doing things that are really connecting with other people, because I think that gives us the feeling of a more fuller, richer life because we're creating these memories and these experiences, especially with our children.
Right.
You know, I wanted to bring up because I've talked mainly about my City Deck series because I think it's a great way for parents, if they're looking for something to do, they can choose a few cards and then give it to the children to say, okay, here's like 5, 6 cards. You can decide where we're going tomorrow. What would you like to do there? All that kind of stuff. But in the process of creating these things, I created other products. So I have this, and I think this is also sold at your
Yep.
store. It's games to play on the
Yep.
go. And these are 40 different games that no materials needed. So
Right.
me and my daughter use them while I'm driving in the car. While sometimes we're out on a hike and suddenly she's like, I'm done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to distract her to get her back to the car.
Yeah.
And I've been working, one thing leads into another and I've been inspired by that. And I'm curious, you started, speech therapy, and then you started this, play center. What else have you been inspired to do, or what new offerings or things are coming available at Enchanted Treehouse for families to take advantage of?
So we have, we call it Parent and Me instead of Mommy and Me class
Yeah.
called,
Yeah.
um, We have kids yoga and adult yoga. We have specialized tutors for academic tutoring. We're putting feelers out for what the community wants. We're getting feedback that infant massage, I have an infant massage specialist who's going to start a course soon, tummy time classes. And if there's something out there that those in our community say, hey, we really would love to, have this offered, we're open to that. Like our space is here. And so, yeah, more to come. I do want to start our own toy line because after
Yeah.
playing with kids for 20 years, you realize what different features they like and what has a toy kind of stand the test of time. And the things I carry here, I like for them to be able to be used in multiple ways. So it's not just played with for a short amount of time and then put away. And that's another thing I show parents how to, take a toy garbage truck and how can we, create trash that's different colors or has different vocabulary in it. And when we do play dates here, one child gets to make the big mess in the street and, scatter different things. And then the other child gets to be the garbage truck driver and go and pick up the pretend trash. And when we do play dates, we offer that like cooperative play
Mm-hmm.
experience,
Yeah.
problem solving together and role playing and taking turns. Um, I started rambling. I don't know. Did I answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Answer
Yeah,
your
it
question?
sounds like you have so much coming in Enchanted Treehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I think it's such a great um, add to the things that parents can do and families can do, caregivers as well. Yeah. So, what are your weekend hours? So, if people do have their children in preschools or schools during the week, what are your weekend hours when they can come and visit you on the
Right
weekends?
now we are open from 10 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're new and we when I say we really want to know what the community wants, and that's not just kind of a line I'm putting out there. Like we really are loving when parents give us the feedback of like, oh gosh, we would love to come, but we wish you opened at 9 a.m. or, just give us the feedback. Let us know what classes you're really motivated to sign up for here and, what would make the difference. And we're sort of adjusting
Yeah.
and trying to offer what we can.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I wanted
And
to
yeah,
make sure I fit everything in.
yeah,
And with Go Decks, one of the things that I've also noticed it helps the kids I've used them with is kind of retell of fun events. And so, like in speech therapy, we work a lot on like I said, who, what, when,
yeah.
where. And so a lot of times a teacher or a grandparent might say, oh, what have you been up to? What did you do this weekend? And
Mhm.
sometimes kids just blank out like, oh, I don't know, or nothing. And the parent's standing right there like, oh my gosh, we went to Legoland this
Yeah,
weekend, which is something really exciting. And that's just really natural for kids when they don't have the visual right in front of them,
yeah,
to sometimes go, gosh, oh, I don't know, or I can't remember. So I love that the Go decks, like the visual is involved right from the beginning,
mhm,
in making the choice, but then you can also use it after the fact to kind of go, oh gosh, we did that. Let's put that on the calendar. Or when we FaceTime with Grammy, let's make sure that, we tell her how much fun we had when we went on that hike.
yeah,
One of the things I use with my speech clients is like a little weekend report. And there again, just giving the visuals of and anybody can do this. You can take a whiteboard and just make a little, stick figure for the who did we see this weekend, and a little stick figure house of like, where did we go this weekend? Oh yeah, what did you like best about that?
I
One of the other conversation tools that
yeah,
has become really popular is asking kids like, what was your favorite part of your day, and what was the most challenging part of your day. So
yeah, and I love that because that template you just showed would also be great when people are planning out. Let's say, the grandparent is watching the child over spring break or a week in the summer. They can say, okay, here's Monday. Where do we want to go? What do we want to, and get the children involved? And it's funny. I was just going to say, asking the questions like who, what, when, and when. That was something I struggled with at the beginning. I'd often pick up my daughter and say, um, did you have fun today?
right.
I would ask yes, no questions
Yeah.
that were very definitive. And then she'd say yes or no. And then I'd be like, well, why doesn't she want to talk to me? And I thought, well, that's because I'm not really asking a question that's leading to it.
It is
And then
so
also she would sometimes say, no, I didn't have fun. And then I'd be like, oh, and so I like the idea, and I've tried to change my script, so to speak, of asking her what was your favorite part of the day, or what was the most exciting thing that happened today at school.
or just
Yeah,
tell me one
yeah,
thing, whatever pops into your head about school today that happened, and then make sure you take your turn too. I think it is so common, for kids to just go, okay, it was fine or whatever, and then it's also so common for us to forget to contribute to that part of
yeah,
it. So tell, one meaningful thing about your day, and whoever else is at the dinner table,
yeah.
have them contribute as well.
Yeah, it's nice to have these. It's kind of like when I would, like do job interviews and stuff, to have these kind of things in your pocket, so to speak, that you pull out to be like, okay, here's the question I'm going to ask to get the conversation going,
Right.
on the ride home or over dinner, so that we're not, sitting there in silence, or that we're not sitting there and then pull out our phones and
Yeah.
and be distracted by technology.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share today, Brooke?
Um, I just, I appreciate what you're doing so much. The game decks and just letting kids take the lead in a way that sets them up for success.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do here is, it's child led, but it's, very interactive, and setting them up with things that excite them, and also bring out, their passions and their communication to express themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, and to those who have been listening, I hope you've learned something today. Maybe you got a new tip, even if it's one thing, like, oh, I'm going to create a little list and engage my child and
Yeah.
saying, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? How do you want to get there? Like, do you want to take the trolley or I love that people could take the coaster to Solana Beach, maybe have a scooter with them and scoot down the rail trail to your location. What a fun like outing that would be, and then go and then scoot back and go to Pizza Port. Who knows?
Yeah.
Make a whole day of
No.
it in Solana Beach, and go to Fletcher Cove afterwards and play or get
Yeah.
watch the sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that thought of like planning a day out with your kids. And then, if the parent is exhausted, they can say, okay, I'm going to schedule the playtime with a play pal. I'm going to have some coffee,
Right.
and then we're going to get back together.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I hope.
there's so much buzz about like parent self-care. And it's like, well, what does that mean? It's different for each person. Like, what would really feel like a guilt-free self-care,
Yeah.
and make
And
it.
yeah, and it's funny because I think about you, and you work with children all
Yeah.
day. So I feel like you have a cup that's like that huge Stanley cup that everybody uses now. And mine is like the little espresso cup. That's about the energy. Like, I volunteer ever so often in my daughter's class for 1 hour with their reading groups. And after that 1 hour, I have to go for a walk. Because I'm like, wow, that 1 hour with children was so overwhelming for me. Like,
Yeah.
and so there's like, I think, just like you said, each person is different. I think our capacity for, working in, or, providing quality play and engagement with children, we're all
Right.
different. Yeah, I see one of my friends just joined. She's a speech therapist, and
Oh,
I'm always amazed at how, or speech language pathologist. Well, Christiana, you can correct me in the comments. And she's a new mom as well, so I imagine she is just like so exhausted. But yeah, I'm so glad I met you, Brooke, because you're a fellow mom business owner, and it's such a exciting journey to be on.
yeah.
Okay, she says either one.
That is
Okay,
exactly.
okay. I didn't know. Sometimes you say something and someone says, "Oh, that's not correct." But she's okay either way.
I,
Great. Well,
I love what I do, and then, like you said, for you, the energy that certain ages of children can sometimes exhaust you, but that's okay. Like, let
yeah,
your child see what does light you up,
yeah,
like, what energizes you, and don't forget to share that.
yeah.
Wow.
And I do think there's something about the energy we show with the children, it's mirrored in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Kids know what, if you're sitting there and you're starting to feel a little bit bored, then let them have their independent time,
Yeah.
because kids like their independent time. And my mom was a working mom. And so, it wasn't hours upon hours that she was down with me. But then I was really into Barbies when I was little. And I had some health problems when I was little. And those Barbies they were both like an escape and a way to process. And that's what I find in the work that I do with kids, is like they can use the toys, whether it's like we talked about before, monster trucks, or actual little people
Mhm.
representing, their day in a toy dollhouse. Um, it's a way to get creative and also kind of process what you're feeling as a little kid. But I remember with my mom, she didn't have tons and tons of hours, but she made it quality. And so
Yeah.
I remember at Christmas time, she said, let's decorate that Barbie house. And she got a pine cone and we spray painted it green, and we put little, and that the fact that she cared about my Barbie house to
Yeah.
decorate it with me and to put in that time. And that's what I mean when I say, like, kids really do like when adults validate them
Mhm.
and validate their ideas, and that it's not just play,
Yeah.
that it's meaningful to them. And so getting down and having that shared enthusiasm, like, it really, I see that when I go to preschools to help my clients, and I see that here at our play center. And yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
I've
So
learned,
fun.
I'm getting ready to go visit my mom. Usually she would come and fly here, but she's not able to fly right now. So we're going to visit her. And she was asking me, what should we do? And
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That's why I asked you, And so now I think I'm going to try putting like a list of things, that places we can go, and let my daughter choose and say, okay, do you want to drive there? Do you want to take the metro? Because we'll be in the DC region.
Yeah.
Asking her, afterwards, do you want to go out to eat? Do you want to have a picnic? Really let her craft our outings.
Yeah.
And that'll make it easier for me and my mom, because we're just tossing back and forth, like, you choose, no, you choose.
Right.
And I think my daughter would love to be the one choosing where to go, how we get there, what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it makes it easier for us, and we just follow her lead a little bit.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank you so much for joining me, and thank you
thank
for
you.
those that signed in. And yeah, Brooke, I hope it's Friday, so I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Although the weekend for you is working, of course, but
I love when
nonetheless.
people reach out to me. So if there's any questions after this, like,
Yeah.
please message me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And if you're one of my followers, please follow Brooke here on the Enchanted Treehouse on Instagram. If you're one of her followers, follow me.
exactly.
Awesome. Thank you again, and thank you, everybody. Happy
Bye.
Friday. Bye.